In this video, I'm going to cover the options for how to add two snowmelt rates within your Flood Modeller FEH boundaries. This is useful because studies have indicated that a single snowmelt rate may lead to an underestimation in the probable maximum flood. Initially, you want to load your network into Flood Modeller version 6.1, or the same options are available by adding a new FEH boundary. I've loaded this network FEH_river_1meltrate.dat that was created in Flood Modeller version 6.0, and this network is available as part of the demo data, so you can download this if you like, and it can be found within the Flood Modeller knowledge base. We've added a link to this in the video description below. So initially, if we open up our FEH unit, the snowmelt rates are only applicable if we're using the PMP winter storm. So over on the event rainfall data tab, you need to make sure you've selected the probable maximum flood at the top and that you've selected the winter PMP profile and that you've filled out the relevant parameters underneath. Now, if we go to the event data tab, we can see there are two new fields available. So we've got the snowmelt rate storm field and also the antecedent melt rate. These are both giving the same data at the moment, this value of 100. This is the value that was given as the single melt rate back in version 6.0. Now, if we go over to the calculated hydrograph tab, a pop-up immediately tells us that both of the melt rates used are the same, and asks us if we want to continue. So we can continue to use the old method where we're just using that one melt rate, or we could click no at this point and return to the edit field. Let's click yes initially, and if we plot that data, we can see that with the old method of just using that one melt rate, we've got a peak here of around 170 cumecs that's being shown on our hydrograph. Now, if we go back into the event data tab over here, we could just change one of these melt rates. So we could, for example, increase our storm rate to add on that additional melting that we're expecting from the rainfall. So if we were to do this and then we go through to our calculated hydrograph, we don't get the pop-up anymore because it's noticing that we've got different melt rates. And if we plot here, we can see obviously that the peak is slightly higher than it was before. Alternatively, we could get Flood Modeller to do all of the work for us. So for this, we need to go over to the Catchment Details tab. Now the map reference, in particular the northing value, is going to be used for this. So we'd want to make sure that everything is placed in the correct position on the map. And also the altitude is going to be used. So we could provide a value for the altitude here. I'm just going to put in 400. In no way is this realistic for the location that this is in the map. This is purely for an example. Now over on the event data tab, we'd need to put in the temperature. For example, I'm just going to put 10 degrees for this example. Now, one option is we can check this box here, and then at simulation runtime, this will calculate what the two melt rates are based on the parameters that I've just provided and based on the event data itself. And then it will override these two melt rates that we've got here. Alternatively, we can get the software to just do that for us now. So we can click this populate melt rates field. We click on that button, we can see that the melt rates immediately adjusted there based on the values that were given. And in this case, it doesn't matter whether we've got this override checkbox ticked or not, because we've already overridden the values. Again, if I click on calculate hydrograph and plot the hydrograph, then we can see this has increased slightly again. So now we're at just above 180 cumecs. And make sure you always save your data afterwards. I'm going to choose to save this as, and we'll call it FEH River 2 melt rates. We'll also include this in that demo data, so you can use this if you want to. Again, remembering that none of the parameters that are provided in this are in any way realistic. It's purely for an example. Thank you for watching this tutorial video on how to add two snowmelt rates to your FEH boundaries. For further information, please visit www.floodmodeller.com.